I am getting so dang excited. So many screws. Holy crap, you're gonna say it's overkill, but I'm gonna say it's just right. Hey, what's going on, everybody on YouTube? EXO coming at you here, plugging away on another build episode of the Behemoth Project. The new subscribers have been really loving it, so today we are cramming in as much as we can for a full-length spread for all the diehards. Thank you so much for being here, guys. It means the world to me. In our last video, the roof got fully foamed just above where the upcoming wooden squares will sit against. That made sure all the foam cured completely through and avoided those pesky hollow spots when accidentally spraying too much at once. That can be a real problem sometimes. Other people even worry that the foam itself will break down or disintegrate from the base. But luckily, that's not what happens at all. I've been using this same method since my caravan days over 12 years ago, and I just so happen to have another perfect example to show you today. My little blue car that hits over 161 decibels got the same treatment when I built it, so there's plenty of spots to expose old foam and see how it looks now. Here's a good chunk right underneath the floor. This fills up the small void as the metal curves away from the box. All of this foam is currently on its 6th year being installed. You can see that it looks fine, feels fine, it's still just as intact. We'll even rip a piece off, look inside for any breakdown frowns, and besides a little bit of polyfill coming along for the ride, there is nothing to see here. Still holding strong, and it's not turning into dust. Here's another few spots that actually get exposed to sunlight. I don't park in the garage, so the sun turned her slightly orange. But regardless, she's still not breaking down, has that same springiness factor, and with a test sample bitten off, there's still no dust or disintegration on the inside. Now let's take this example to the next level, shall we? What happens after nearly 3 years of outdoor exposure? This right here is some foam around the HVAC lines at my place. It gets rained on constantly, sees below freezing temps, above 100, and never gets a break from that Carolina sun. Even with all that going on, it's still holding up pretty dang good. I will say though that the top portion is definitely more crispy and sunburnt, but overall it's still got substance. It's not caving in when I poke it, and it's not turning into dust whatsoever. So just imagine how well it will hold up with zero exposure to the elements. Much like all the foam that's hidden underneath my feet, it remains protected, expands to existing boundaries, and ends up being impossible to flex no matter how hard you try. With all that said, let's resume where we left off last time and get the remaining foam flushed up on the top. That way, when we stack up 2 layers of 3/4 inch wood, it will equal the exact thickness of 1.5 inch steel tubing. Let's get those sections flattened out. Got a little before and after going on with these 2 sections. Now the wood will fit right in. With all that foam sitting nice and flush, it's time to finish attaching the upper squares. We'll use the same method as before, clamping each piece into place with additional foam to fill up those tiny divots underneath. Since there's already a boundary for the wood to press up against, a lot of the expansion will seep out around the edges to make the outer seams flush as well. We'll just need to repeat that process again and again. Alright guys, moving right along, this is the last row. We got a funky shape right there, so we'll have to do a little angle, measure over, and then do a straight line across to get the perfect size, and trim down a little bit more of the expanding foam. We got some high rises with that cake frosting in there, but over here is a finished plane, smooth as the desert and flat as can be. This still needs to be prepped, but you're getting the idea of everything that's coming along here, and all of these smaller pieces right here in the center is where the roof brace goes across. So the roof brace has these welded to it and then filled in all the voids to abut to the actual brace. So everything is literally metal on metal or metal on wood. There's zero opportunity for it to compress down when you apply pressure on the roof. So we'll need to shave off about another 1/8 of an inch to make it perfectly flush. Man, these goggles suck. What the? That's all on the inside. What in the Amazon special is this? All right, there's the top squares, folks, all filled in and dry. There's still a couple places that I could squirt some PL into, but for the most part, she's ready to go. This next part though, whew, it really needs to be fixed badly. There's a huge hidden space that extends like 2 feet below the floor line. It's surprisingly large for being left untreated, a good 4 to 6 inches of hollow space between the outer and inner layers, plus an extra 4 inches to reach the shell itself. Long story short, those hard to reach spots are a hollow sounding mess at the moment. Once filled up, however, it will be a massive sandwich of material from the inside out, reinforced and a good 12 inches thick in some places. Here's how it looks and sounds now without any treatment at all. You can hear that it has quite a lot of echo in there, quite a bit. Whew. Hollow. So we'll have to deal with what we got. I'm just surprised they didn't take care of that from the factory. We got the freaking Grand Canyon on either side of the vehicle, so we'll fill it up with foam completely, but not just ordinary foam. Believe me, I'm not just chucking in a bunch of great stuff and calling it good. It's 2-part activated foam that you pour out by hand. Let me go show you what I'm talking about. This right here is polyurethane expanding foam. 4-pound density, roughly 4 times stronger than great stuff out of the can. And get this, it only takes 45 seconds to set up. So layer by layer, we'll mix up small batches in these cups, pour it right out until slowly but surely that entire cavity on both sides is completely filled up. We just gotta keep a close eye on things while we pour, just in case she gets the runs. It does like to seep out of every possible hole, so there are a few spots that we're gonna need to plug up. If I stick my camera down into this big pocket, you can start to see daylight on the other side. Let me go ahead and exaggerate the problem and turn out the lights. Yeah, see, that's never a good thing, especially in the basehead world. Definitely a tight squeeze getting that silicone down in there, but we got a nice bead across the whole seam. Nothing is getting through there now. So because the pour style foam is a lot stronger, it's gonna be pushing against these surfaces a heck of a lot more. If the possibility of deformation is getting up there. So what I'm gonna do is sand down some of this area for some critically positioned sheets of second skin. That way, having the extra sheet of metal, there's a constraining layer there with some butyl rubber as well. It will be an even plane, so if there is a concentrated area of expansion, at least there will be an extra layer of metal to make it like a big piece instead of a little concentrated bubble that could possibly show itself on the black paint. I'm just making note of where the constructive adhesive stops on the factory braces, so we don't need to go all the way to that, and then just cut down. Doesn't need to be perfect, and this is all gonna be hidden behind critically positioned pieces of second skin are in place and nice and rolled on. Now I'm actually gonna scuff off a little bit of that black second skin logo. I'll say it ain't so, but just to make sure that the expanding foam that we add in there really adheres to all that material. Should do just the trick. She gonna stick real good. So I think we have done enough preparation to move on to the 2-part foaming process to fill up all of this stuff behind here. Oh man, this is gonna be a fun part. So let's get this show on the road. Our workstation is all prepped with our 2 plastic cups, our 5-gallon buckets of A and B parts, and a handy little thing here pointed down into the abyss so I can actually see what I'm doing. Let's get lifting and mixing 1 part to 1 part A and B. That's looking like a pretty even ratio to me. We only have 25 seconds to stir as vigorously as we can, and then another 20 seconds to get, where we need to go with the foam. So let's waste no time and combine these liquids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna let it wait until just at the very last second it starts doing its thing, and here we go. There's the first application. Let's see what that does. We got our camera down there looking down. I can see it running across, but luckily we filled up all that stuff we'll go down underneath the car and see what happens in a few minutes. Should be reacting here pretty soon. Let's take a quick look underneath the car and see if our seal job did the trick. Oh yeah, I don't see anything coming out. Let's go over a little further. Okay, we got one driplet. Look at this, one little driplet so far. That's okay. Do another pour on the other side while this one slowly expands. Just did a nice pour all the way toward the B-pillar. Now I'm gonna go under the car on that one because I kind of forgot to apply some silicone on the very end, so we may have a gusher down underneath. Well, not so much a gusher, but she's dripping out slowly. Luckily this stuff cures so quickly, it'll only be there for just a couple minutes until it slowly hardens and then seals its own hole. We got a preacher. Had to pull out my GoPro. That foam was expanding up rapidly. Did you see that? Almost freaking hit the lens on that one. So we are just about to the top of the floor line. We got still a little more over there, but we've definitely I can't even talk right now. A few more applications and then we'll be right up level to it. But once we reach that point, we're gonna have to dam up this area so the foam doesn't come pouring out. Instead of boring you with this same step a million more times, I'm gonna press fast forward to where all the hollow spots are finally filled up. I trimmed off all the extra that oozed into important spots, keeping everything flush to the metal. That way I could use a couple sheets of second skin to seal over the already plugged up holes. Overkill to the max. Behind the scenes, I also decided to spray more foam on the upper walls. Just for good measure really, since those flimsy panels are at stake. A couple extra layers of something with a little give should be a good buffer zone for when the hard stuff comes out. And there we have it, guys. The inner areas are approaching tank-like status, all filled up and deadened to high heaven. Now, before we get going too further into the next process, sandwiching the cage with the vehicle, let's just see how much the first half of the sandwich is deadening things already. Here's a couple before shots of the passenger side just to give us a good idea of some of this resonance. Now here's what it sounds like after the treatment. Oh yeah, gotta love that. Sounding real good. And we got a perfect formation on the outside, no warpage at all. So now let's give one of the worst areas, which is down here in this other empty area. Let's do before and after on that. Oh yeah. Everything is rock solid and looking good. Talk about some crazy results, huh? Man, I'm super pumped to see that much of a difference already. And to think we have even more beefing up to do with 6 more inches of material. Goodness gracious, a true behemoth is underway. To make sure all the wires stay nice and accessible, I'll be using some cell core ABS as conduit behind the walls. That means I can fill this entire void without shooting myself in the foot trying to wire my system later on. I'll be able to pull through anything I need on either side. I'm even debating on leaving the passenger side with a nice storage compartment. Toolboxes, spare parts, and other odds and ends can fit perfectly in there. We just need to glue down our good old electrical pipe so any expansion doesn't send them flying all crooked. 2-inch ABS should do just the trick. Just enough to get down to bare metal in enough places for a good bond. Right along, making some great progress. The electrical conduit for all of our wires is ran from the front to the back, nice and level all the way down. And I even made the one on the passenger side a nice flat platform with some foam around it. That way everything's nice and even when we have our storage over there. Just a nice little level playing field. So now I'm really excited for this part, guys. As we've been saying over and over again, it's time to start damming up this bottom with these squares. That way we can pour from the top again and again until all this is nice and filled up. I think I need to trim just 1/8 of an inch off this to get a perfect fit on the bottom here. See how it's a little tight? So we'll go over to the chop saw real quick and get all these fitted in so we can screw them in once and for all. Actually, I'm going to try the table saw, see if that's any better. Can't do that yet. I forgot to put in the wood glue. Let me pry this back out. I probably won't be able to wedge it back up, but I'll be able to at least squirt the glue back in there. You can see that when we double up the layers, it's kind of tight in there. So I'm kind of just wedging it in here like this, and then pounding it in from the top. Dang it, I forgot to put glue in there again. Have to do a topical application all over. That's all right. There we go, let it run down a little bit on the walls, and then press it back in. I'm telling you, I'm focusing so much on trying to get these camera shots, I keep forgetting to add the glue. You can actually see it oozing down right there, so we definitely added enough. There we go, the bottom row is all in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares that make up the first part of the dam for the next process. Now, as you can see, there are tiny little gaps in here. I'm gonna fill those in real quick behind the scenes because we do run the risk of these cracks, you know, pouring out a little bit of that material. Since we already have so many shots of this foam actually expanding, I don't wanna bore you guys with the monotony. So let's just mix up a quick batch here with a topical view. I may have put a little too much in the cup, but that's okay. I'm gonna do a real thin application across all 36 inches here. Pour it right in. I see a little bit of drippage right down here at the bottom, but nothing serious. Man, that's so cool. You can hear it crackling as it expands like good old Rice Krispies treat. So let's go for round 2 because my cup ran out right about here. Nice, that's a good one. It's folding over all those little grooves inside. Every single spot is gonna have some sort of pressure against it. We're just making contact with the pipe right now. Oh, we're about to make a moon landing. Here we go. Oh yeah, check it out, bridging the gaps. Let me zoom in a little more, see if I can. That's so cool, man. Oh, I love it. Time lapse there, and she's pretty well even to this bar right here. So it's time to put in the next layer of squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 9 of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that slowly but surely, also behind the scenes, and I'll come at you guys once this row is complete. Man, this is really starting to come together. All the more real each layer that we go. So let's go ahead and get, oh man, I just stuck my finger right in some freaking PL Max. So let's go ahead and mix up another batch here now that we're about, I'd say, a good 10 inches away. Oh crap, dang it, I forgot. We gotta seal up around the edges. I forgot about that. Where's my caulking gun? She's all sealed up, let's rock and roll. Sure that we get all of that out. Oh man, the lighting sucks right now. What the heck? last row is almost underway, and I gotta say, I am getting so dang excited. My heartbeat is getting faster and faster, and here is a good illustration of what exactly is going on. This is all such a sandwich of material. There'll be one more layer of wood in front of this, 2 layers of wood in back of that with a steel frame, and then our 4-pound density foam with 1 pound behind it. Everything is so dead. Oh, I love it. And I'm gonna do something pretty cool here with this next layer. I'm gonna do knock test during the process of filling this up, because I did notice such a difference once you get everything in there. So I'm gonna illustrate it right here on video. Man, that takes a lot of strength. I'm telling you, this is a great workout. Here's just what one piece sounds like before adding anything else. Here's what the first piece sounds like in the middle of the cage, and here's what the first piece sounds like in the very front of the cage. Now let's add the second layer of pieces down the whole row and do the same thing after that. Whoops, I forgot a screw right here. Can't forget that. Now I can finish this one up. Goodness gracious. Man, my back is breaking. There's another row down. So let's do the same thing that we did in the same exact way as before, doing a little knock test, just testing the resonance now that we've added. Now here's what the back piece sounds like with 2 layers of wood. Now the second piece all the way up front. Now we could retest that same thing after applying some PL around the seams. It probably would make a difference, but I don't want to hold you guys here forever. I'm gonna fill up these seams with the PL for the final application of foam. You can see that we've got foam right here to abut to. It's gonna meet everything right here, and everything's gonna be right as rain. We just have a little bit more to fill up. Fast forward just a little bit and we got another layer of foam laid down and firmed up. So now let's continue these quick before and after shots. Here's 2 layers sealed with all the foam behind it. Now here's what it sounds like fully treated up at the front. All right, everybody, she's fully filled and squared up to the tippity tops. Whew, I'm telling you, it feels so rewarding to finally have both sides almost checked off the list. I rifled through my entire spare bin of 13 ply, filling up the missing odds and ends. The stuff's like gold at the moment, seriously. I cannot believe how expensive plywood is getting. Because of that, a couple chunks here and there even date back to Frankenstein. But heck, it's still really good plywood to me. Luckily, I have about 20 more sheets chilling at 252 Customs, so let's press play over at the shop and begin prepping for the last layers of wood. So to get these next top pieces in, I just gotta take down some of these high rises right here. I've already gone through and done some of it. It's just, you know, the PL and the expanding foam. I wanna make it nice and level. So that's what I've done so far. And the only thing we really gotta worry about is this little notch. So we're gonna have to cut a little angle and then as a team, kind of hold this piece in there. This is gonna be lined with more wood, so it'll be all, you know, its own flat surface. It won't look like this, so that's what we're doing right now. Putting all this wood in finally. All right, just sweeping off all the debris that I just sanded down, knocked off all the high spots. All the data has been transposed. Now behind me you can see there's a lot of key places that we need to screw into and other places that we need to avoid. So all that has been marked on the piece of wood. For instance, right here needs to be avoided because that's gonna go through the roof because the roof brace is literally this close, and then these little pieces of metal, those are also marked out along with our big wooden squares. That way we know where to apply wood glue versus PL. We're gonna go through a lot of adhesive here and it's gonna go by real quick. So say goodbye to all this Skeletor cage-like presence. We're gonna be having a fully lined cage here in no time. Easier when you pre-drill. All this stuff is laid out, plotted out, so we can just take drill, go right down, just boom, boom, boom. Screws, boys and girls. Holy smokes. Oh man. She is getting stronger and stronger by the second. So many screws. Holy crap. You're gonna say it's overkill, but I'm gonna say it's just right. Now the second piece, believe it or not, is gonna fill up this passenger side. It's already sitting right here. Now we were gonna just tack it up and wait for the one more trip to Lowe's so we could have more adhesive, but we're gonna try some, liquid nails construction adhesive. This is PL8X, but we're gonna try this on this last piece so we can actually fill those squares that I came in tote with. That way they're not all jostling around on my ride home, and it'll work out just fine like that. So essentially this will just be propped up into place, and then I think we're gonna hold off because then we will have no more adhesive left, so I may have to save some pieces for at home. But that's what this is all about, doing what you gotta do. And there is even more screwing left to do with these inner sections right here. With the different screws, wood screws, these are self-tapping metal screws, and that will sum up this one part. But let me look at the camera here and see what we're working with minutes. We're at 22 minutes right now. I'm gonna have no SD cards left, and I have 12 minutes of footage, so I gotta be a big-time cherry picker from now until the end of the day. Let's go ahead and put some more pieces on but not waste any more time talking because I got such a little bit left. Now, if you've been following this build, you'll know that this is the part where we can finally fill these squares from the outside with no center tabs. See, I have all the accessibility I want right from the outside. I'm surprised I haven't hit a screw yet. All right, so what I just did was kind of a mistake, but you wouldn't know it. There's screws holding this double layer together pretty much in the same positions as these other ones. Luckily, I didn't hit any of those screws, but next time, no chance of that. All right, fast forward, some strategically placed filmed shots, and look at what we've got. We've got 3 more minutes left on our SD card, and the first section of the outer shell, well, I should say inner shell at this point, right? Oh man, my camera's all messed up. Finally complete. So here I am, a very happy camper, finishing up the cleaning for today. Oh, it's all coming together. It's all coming together. Well, she's starting to look like a subwoofer box, everybody. Oh my gosh. I keep coming outside with the biggest smile on my face every time I look at it. I did run out of glue completely though, right here on this side piece, the one right behind me. So that's why it and the bottom are kind of just chilling right now. I gotta head back down to Home Depot, so hopefully they replenished their stockpiles. The last time I went down there, they didn't have jack shit. So we'll call it good for today's video. We've already eaten up my entire scratch drive on my computer. Honestly, there's so much involved with big projects like this. I could barely fit what you just saw in one video, believe it or not. This episode alone had almost 10 hours of footage crammed into it. Definitely not fun re-watching and editing all that. So if these videos entertain, please, by all means, stick around and do all that corny sounding YouTube stuff. As much as I hate to say it, heck, I still gotta play in the new age, right? Here's a little shout out from the last video's comment challenge. The question was, what's something that's always better to buy brand new and something that's always better to buy used? You guys had some pretty funny and some pretty practical answers as well. Here's just a few. And the #1 upvoted answer comes from JBang917. Congrats, my dude, you've got yourself a brand new set of tweeters just for playing. Now, for today's comment challenge, what is the worst purchase you've ever made and what is the best purchase you've ever made? We've all been young and dumb at some point, so there's bound to be some real hidden gems out there somewhere. Me personally, I have to say my worst purchase was a '89 Chevy Beretta. Don't get me wrong, I loved the car when it ran, but I could only keep the thing running for like a week at a time, so in the end, it ended up being kind of a useless money pit. My best purchase, however, has got to be the classic Grand Caravan. I picked it up for like 800 bucks, drove it for years, and transformed it along the way like a million times. I have so many great memories with that vehicle, even way before YouTube started. So those are my 2 answers. What about you guys? Let me know in the comments and we'll pick somebody up for next round like always. You can also support the channel in the meantime while making these big grand videos by shopping at Showtime Electronics. The website is always shipping and you can save even more by clicking in the EXO coupon code at checkout. Thank you guys so much for the support. Helps me, helps you, helps everyone who watches this video. So until the next time, stay tuned for more segments on the big behemoth build as we draw closer and closer to completion. Thank you guys again. I will talk to you in the next one. This is EXO signing out.